Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the TradeStation Masterclass. Let me just see something here. Just make sure that everything is working properly, that you guys are able to see everything. All right. Yes, welcome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. I always enjoy these sessions. I'm glad that you guys took time out of your schedules to be here and learn a little bit about the TradeStation platform. Today's topic is based on technical analysis, and we are going to identify opportunities using market correlation and relative performance. It's a fancy way of looking at, multi-data analysis in TradeStation. In order for you to do correlation, in order for you to do relative performance evaluations, you need to be able to do multi-data analysis on the TradeStation platform. So we're going to go over some of the features and functionality that are on the desktop that allow you to do these sort of analysis for trading. So let's go ahead and get started here. Just our regular disclosures. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, active trading is not suitable for everyone, and past historical performance is no guarantee of future results. If you need additional details on these disclosures, you can go to www.tradestation.com/important information. And Manolo has shared that link right here in the chat. In the chat window as well. All right. Uh, no, Kevin, I see your comment about a new tan. No vacation time yet. I wish it was that. No, maybe it's just the lighting here that's a little bit darker. So, thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and switch over to the TradeStation platform and introduce the topic of multi-data analysis. Oh, by the way, I wanted to go over some notes that we have on multi-data analysis before I switch over to the TradeStation desktop to clarify some of these concepts. I did not. Let's see if I can create this as a PDF very quickly, because that's one of the things that I didn't do. So I'm going to create it as a PDF. We're going to go here back to our disclosure statement. I'm going to be sending this document over to my colleague here, Manolo, so that he can provide it to everyone here in class. So we're going to call this, just see here. Just one moment. I knew that I was missing something. So as I said before, Manolo will get this ready for you. And for anybody that wants these notes, you can get them right here in class. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this. Multi-data analysis. One of the things that you probably don't know about the TradeStation desktop is that you can add up to 50 unique data sets into one single chart. So we're not talking about maintaining 50 separate charts. We're talking about introducing or adding those data streams into one single data. This allows you to take those prices from 50 different symbols and create calculations and create studies that are based on all those data sets. Every time that you add a symbol into the TradeStation chart, we are going to assign the data number. The data number is important because this is the way that you're going to reference a particular symbol inside of your program, inside of your easy language. If you haven't heard of Easy Language before, Easy Language is a proprietary programming language that allows you to create studies and strategies. And in order for you to reference a specific symbol, you'd have to know which data number has been assigned to it. The data numbers are assigned in the order in which the symbols were added to the chart. So the first symbol that starts the chart is going to be data 1. And as you start adding symbols to it, they're going to be assigned data 2, data 3, and data 4. And that number that is assigned to the symbol doesn't change. If you want to do any shifting around, you would have to remove the symbol and add it again, and then make a note of the new data number that's assigned to it. But this happens automatically as you create multi-data charts. We're going to pull up different examples on the TradeStation desktop so that you can get an idea or have an understanding on what a multi-data chart is. All right. So we already talked about you may not change the data number of a symbol, but you can change the symbol in the data number. Yeah, that's interesting because you may have, 10 symbols on a chart. Let's say that you have 10 symbols, and all of a sudden, symbol number 2 or data number 2 went through some reorg. You're not interested in that symbol anymore. You can go in the chart and say, okay, data number 2 is going to be replaced by this other symbol that I'm interested in. And then you change the symbol of the data number. So that's why it says, you can change the symbol in the data number, but you cannot change the data number of the symbol. So it doesn't work the other way. In easy language, you reference the data for multi-data analysis. If we have some time today, we'll look at some easy language and take a look at some examples on how to reference that multi-data. Multi-data analysis is also available in RadarScreen. We're going to look at an example that uses multi-data. It's a little bit more complicated because in RadarScreen, you cannot use data from a different row. So yeah, RadarScreen is like a quotes window, and all the symbols are listed in rows. And you cannot say, mix the data from row number 1 and row number 6 because RadarScreen is not capable of doing that. But there is a way for you to introduce other data elements into your calculations using objects or easy language objects. Again, we're going to look at an example in RadarScreen that allows you to do relative performance by pulling in data for other symbols. Multi-data charts only work with time-based intervals, so no activity-based charting or no price-based charting. Just make sure that the symbol has enough historical data. You may add studies to any symbol on a multi-data chart. This is pretty cool because when you have multiple symbols on a chart and you add a technical study, TradeStation should ask you, where do you want the study to go? By default, it'll always go to data 1. So it'll assume that you're adding the symbols to data 1. But you have an opportunity to say, no, I don't want this study on data 1. I want to put it on data number 6, if that were the case. You may add the same symbol multiple times with different time frames, or use different symbols with the same or different time frames. So you can mix and match any sort of combination. A lot of times, for people that are using the same symbol with different time frames, is because they're looking for confirmations across multiple time frames. So let's say, for example, you're trading Microsoft, and in the analysis of Microsoft, you want to monitor exponential moving averages on different time frames. Maybe you want to do it on a daily basis, you want to do it on an hourly basis, and then you want to do it on a 5-minute. So if you want to do that, you can set up a chart analysis window with Microsoft added 3 times and have each one of those Microsofts set to a particular time frame if you wanted to do that sort of analysis. It makes it a very interesting way of analyzing stocks, not only in a way of mixing different symbols together, but also using the same symbol repeatedly with different time frames. What are some of the uses of multi-data analysis? What can you do? Relative performance. So performing one stock against another. That's an interesting concept. Also against the benchmark. If you follow, for example, the S&P 500, and you want to know how a particular stock compares to the performance of the index itself, that's called relative performance, if it's outperforming or underperforming. It'd be very cool for you to load up, the 500 stocks or the 500 companies that are listed in the S&P 500 and see how they compare to the index itself. The S&P 500, of course, is an index, but the companies inside of that index, some of them are going to outperform the index and some will underperform. So multi-data analysis allows you to do that type of relative performance and rank your symbols based on that performance. We'll take a look at a study. Nothing custom, something that is already built into your TradeStation desktop, so you can use it right out of the box. You can also do percent change chart in line with the relative performance. it is very interesting for you to know within a particular sector which companies are outperforming others. We can talk about an example here in class. And one example that I've used in the past is, for example, looking at different airline stocks. You may be looking at American Airlines, you may be looking at, Delta, United, and then you want to know which one is performing better than the others. Not only in a short period of time, but also in history. If you want to go back to when the pandemic started, COVID in March of 2020, March of 2020, and you want to do some sort of performance analysis on airlines and how they reacted to the pandemic and how they were affected, that's the sort of analysis you can do with multi-data analysis. You can do some correlation. We'll take a look at a built-in correlation indicator that's inside of TradeStation. Multi time frame confirmation. We talked about this briefly when we were using Microsoft as an example. You can also create your own index of symbols. So same as the S&P 500 or the Dow, if you want to create your own index, maybe, an idea is, taking all your holdings, everything that you own inside your account, and create a portfolio and then create an index out of that. That would be good so that you can see an overall measure of your account. So custom index of symbols also is an idea that you can do with multi data analysis and pairs trading. TradeStation doesn't support per se the pairs trading. However, I'm going to show you a built-in study that's part of the TradeStation platform that's designed around that idea of pairs trading. So yeah, we have a lot to talk about. We're going to go through different examples. The chat is open, so you're welcome to share your insight or comments or any questions you may have about the functionality. Feel free to communicate with us here. That's the whole reason why we meet in a live setting like this, so that we can make the class interactive. All right, perfect. So hey, James, hi, good to see you. So not in Florida yet, so you're in California. Good to see you, James, here. And yes, for any questions, you may also email. Manolo already shared the email address there, education@tradestation.com. I'm not sure, Manolo, if you can share the slides in here. The very short slides. These are just the 3 slides that I shared right now. Not a lot of information in them, but you're welcome to request the slides if you want. So let me switch over to the TradeStation platform and show you how to do multi-data analysis. We're going to start off with a chart. All right, this is a chart of Apple. I'm going to resize it, and I'm going to make this a daily chart. Okay, daily chart of Apple. Okay, so as we said at the beginning of the presentation, you can add up to 50 unique symbols to this chart. If I go to the Data tab and I click on Add Symbol, this is the way that you add symbols into the chart. Once I do that, it asks me, okay, what symbol is it that you want to add? And I want to add Microsoft. And I'm going to plot it. So now I'm looking at a chart of Apple on the top and a chart of Microsoft at the bottom, but this is all one single window. There is a invisible separator between the two. If I bring my cursor right here, right in the middle, you're going to see how it changes to a double-headed arrow, and it allows me to change, this divider to give any of these symbols more room. You can set it to any size you want, but this is already a multi-data chart. A multi-data chart is the one that has more than one symbol. One way or one thing that I would do, or that I do a lot, not that I would do, is using shortcuts. You probably noticed that I had to go here to data and add symbol to create a multi-data chart. Sometimes I use a command to add a symbol. I'm not sure if you guys will like this, but sometimes it makes it easier because I'm already on the keyboard typing a symbol. And the command that you have to remember is .isy. Let me put it right here in the chat. ISY. Yeah, that's the command. So when you type in ISY is an abbreviation for insert symbol. This is based on, TradeStation's legacy software. Some of the commands, have abbreviations that followed some of the menu structure. Before we had the menu insert. Now we don't have it anymore. We have studies and add studies. but we still keep the commands the way that the legacy software was created, and that's why you have ISY instead of AS, which is add study. There's a little difference, but the command is, if you remember ISY for insert symbol, you'll know the command, and it'll make it easier for you to insert symbols. So what I do instead of type in the symbol here, because if I type in the symbol here without the command, it will just change the symbol to Microsoft. So what I'm going to do is type in .isy space MSFT, the command line. Notice how it's right there, .isy space MSFT, and I hit enter, and then I have my other symbol in there. So pretty cool, huh? You can use these commands if you're into creating multi-data charts. Sometimes it just makes it easier for you to type in a symbol, especially if you're going to do several symbols in sequence. So if I come here and I do .isy INTC, .isy Home Depot, .isy Disney, .isy Verizon. So you can continue to add symbols, and you can already see that my chart is looking cluttered. There's 6 symbols already, but if you are in the process of adding symbols, rather than going to data and adding symbol every single time, you can just use the command, which makes it simple. You can also, type in commands together. I'm not sure if you've tried that on your TradeStation, but let me remove all these symbols and show you one single line command. And let me see if I can type it in here, because I'm going to type in 4 additional symbols. And the string is going to be like this: .isy MSFT, semicolon, semicolon, .isy Disney, semicolon, semicolon, .isy Home Depot, semicolon, semicolon, .isy Verizon. So let me put this in the chat. This is what I just typed. It seems like I just fell asleep on the keyboard and I just typed in some random letters in there. But that command, separated by double semicolons, is a string of commands that TradeStation can follow and insert all symbols at once. So give that a try. I'm gonna go ahead and copy that from the chat and put it right here into my command line. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, if you cannot copy, it's not really hard to type it up again. I'm going to paste it in here. So that's my whole string of commands. Notice what happens when I hit enter. It creates the chart immediately for me with all the symbols that I added. So just a few things that I sometimes use. I like to use a lot of shortcuts in my TradeStation platform, and I think that many of you, especially if you are in the process of analyzing different symbols, it's going to save you some time to know these tips and tricks. Okay, let's go and remove these symbols. All right, so I have Microsoft and Apple on the screen. There's a couple or a few studies inside of the TradeStation platform that are automatically designed to look for 2 symbols. Let me show you a couple of examples here. I'm going to go to Add Study, and I'm going to scroll down to the studies that start with the letter S as in Sam. So here you're going to find studies like the spread diff and the spread ratio. Let me go ahead and add those 2, spread diff and spread ratio. Okay, so they are right there at the bottom of my screen. Let me go ahead and change the style to a thicker line. Make that the default, and I'm going to do the same thing for the yellow line. All right, so it'll look better on the screen. So the spread diff is the red line. And the red line, as you can see right there on the scale, is as negative 147. Why does it say negative 147? Because it takes Microsoft and subtracts it from Apple. Apple is trading at 177. 177 minus 324 is negative 147. That's pretty much what that means. If you want to change the symbols around, let's say that, oh, I made a mistake here. I wanted Microsoft to be right here at the top. You cannot change the order. I mean, you can, what you cannot do is change the data number. So even if I move this symbol and I put it right here on the top, and I say left axis, and then I move my other symbol. Let me move my other symbol. Maybe this one. And I'll move it over here. Okay, now notice that I put Microsoft on the top and I have Apple at the bottom. But still, you know, the math here is still a negative 147. So even if I rearrange the symbols from top to bottom, bottom to top, the math doesn't change because, as we said earlier, when you add the symbol, it's going to assign a data number. This red line down here is calculating, you know, data one minus data two, and it already knows which is data one. It is Apple because that's the symbol that started the chart. Even though now it's the second symbol here on visually, it's still data one in terms of what the chart thinks, you know? So I need to change the symbol to the data in order for that to apply. So let me go ahead and click Apple here. Type in Microsoft. So now my two symbols are Microsoft. That's the reason why my two studies are flatline. Microsoft minus Microsoft equals 0, right? All right. And I'm going to click on the top one, or at least, what did I do? Yeah, I'm going to click on the top one and change that to Apple. Now, if I do that, notice how now my spread difference is positive. It's not negative anymore because now it's taking 324 minus 177 and it gives me the 147. So spread difference, all this just to use a spread difference. It's a very simple calculation taking, you know, the current price of one minus the other, and it tells you what the difference is. The indicator spread diff is already built into the TradeStation platform and is automatically looking for data one and data two. If you try to use that study without setting up your chart first, it's going to generate an error and tell you, hey, you need data two. I can only create a difference if I have another symbol to reference. And that's one of the studies that uses this concept of multi-data analysis. And this other one, the spread ratio, it's very simple in the sense that it's very similar in the sense that it uses two symbols, but instead of subtracting one from the other, it actually divides one by the other. In this case, it's going to divide the $324 of Microsoft by the $177 of Apple and give you right here a 1.83 ratio between the two symbols. So whenever you want a ratio or a difference calculation on symbol data, you can use these two studies that are built into the TradeStation platform, okay? Let me go ahead and remove these two and talk a little bit about correlation. Let's see. I'm just gonna take a look at some of the questions here. Leon is asking how to bring up the command line. The command line in TradeStation is something that comes up automatically. I don't have to really do anything I do have to do something for it to come up. What I need to do is I need to press keys on the keyboard. As soon as you press keys on the keyboard, the command line should pop up. So if I'm here on the chart and I press, for example, the space bar, you see the command line pops up. I wouldn't, press the space bar. I would just type in whatever is it that I'm going to type, but the command line pops up automatically. Okay. James, thank you for providing the answer there as well. All right. And remember that this is a command line functionality that only works on the desktop. This is a presentation that we do on the desktop version of TradeStation. If you're using the web trading platform, that is something that is not supported there. And if you're using the mobile device, of course, that's not there as well. So if you're looking for these types of advanced analysis techniques, those are only part of the TradeStation desktop. Another study that uses multiple data streams is correlation. Correlation is an interesting study because it measures, how correlated symbols are. It's just called correlation here, and I'm just going to click OK. I'm not going to do any changes to it. And this is the way that it looks. Apple and Microsoft being, two technology stocks are closely correlated. I wouldn't say, they're highly correlated, but they're closely correlated. You can see how this cyan line, it's mostly towards the top of that study. Being at the top of the study means that it's closer to one. This correlation study can vary from one all the way to -1. If it approaches one, it is said that the two securities are highly correlated. If it's somewhere in the middle at 0, it just means that there's no correlation whatsoever between the two symbols. And if it approaches -1, it is said that the two securities are oppositely correlated. So when one is going up, the other one is going down with the same intensity. So this is a very interesting indicator, correlation. And the concept here is to use it in highly correlated or oppositely correlated security so that you can take advantage of any, or on any times when they're not correlated. So if you have two securities that are highly correlated most of the time, and all of a sudden they drop their correlation by a smidgen, you can pretty much say that very soon they'll become correlated again. So that opportunity where you find these symbols that are, that are not as correlated as they usually are, then those are the trading opportunities that we're talking about. We don't have a strategy that is based on correlation at the moment, or no built-in strategy, but it's something that can be created and used on our platform. This, of course, is goes hand in hand with pairs trading. For example, when we're using this same concept of highly correlated symbols that for a period of time lose that correlation, and it could turn into a trading opportunity, you need the ability to be able to trade both securities at the same time. So with TradeStation, there's a study that is designed to submit orders on two different studies. Let me show you this because it's a very interesting idea. And last time when I was doing this class, I showed this indicator to everyone here in class, and we didn't have an opportunity to see the indicator in action. But let me show you what I mean by that study. Let me go ahead and remove this. It's also the type of study that uses multiple data. Not only uses multiple data for calculations, it uses multiple data to generate trades. Let me go ahead and see here if I have any open trades. I do. Let me close these two positions. I'm going to have
order filled.
a clean slate. So now
Order filled.
that my position graph bar is empty. And I'm going to do the same symbols that I have here on my chart. I'm going to do Apple and I'm going to do Microsoft. Let me go ahead and move this divider up a little bit. I'm going to remove this left scale that I enabled when I was moving some symbols around. So let me go ahead and display the left axis, uncheck that. And I think that, right now I have Apple on the top and I have Microsoft at the bottom, which could be confusing because let me go to data and edit symbol for a moment. If I go to edit symbol, you can see that here's the data number assignment. You can see that data 1 is Microsoft and data 2 is Apple. So I'm sure that if I open up this workspace, later today or tomorrow, I won't remember that. I'll look at Apple and I'll say, well, it's at the top of the chart. It must be data 1, but not really. We did a lot of shifting around just a moment ago, and we changed the order of these data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the chart from scratch to make sure that my calculations are accurate. Sometimes I do that rather than spending time fixing what I messed up. Sometimes I just start from scratch. I think it's just easier and cleaner, and I'm sure that I'm doing things in the right order. So Apple, I want Apple to be at the top, not for any particular reason. I guess just because Apple starts with the letter A and is the first letter of the alphabet and likes it to be at the top visually. I mean, stupid reason, but here I'm just gonna make Apple data 1, and I'm gonna add Microsoft as data 2. So we have the two symbols back in place. Now, if I go to data and I go to edit symbol, they should be in the right order. Data 1, Apple, data 2, Microsoft, at least in the order that I want. I mean, you can choose any order you want, but just be aware of which is data 1 and which is data 2 so that the calculations make sense in your head, okay? I'm going to go here to studies. I'm going to add study. And the study that I was referencing, the one that allows you to do pairs trading, is called Algo Pairs Trading. Let's go here. All right. There's other algos that our team is working on, and I may, have another class where I present on these other studies. But let's go ahead and take a look at Algos Pairs Trading. Okay, so this goes on the chart. I'm going to leave it the way it is for now, because there's a couple things that I have to do to it before I can turn on trading. And you're going to see how interesting this is. Here, I want to look at the long entry condition and the short entry condition, because one of the things that I noticed about this indicator is that it doesn't plot lines. This is based on averages, by the way. You can see the function average inside the input. And when I was using the study, I realized I don't have those averages on the screen. How am I able to tell when, one average crosses under the other? Notice the calculation here. The average of close of data 1 divided by close of data 2. So we have a 5-bar average of close of data 1 divided by close of data 2. And then we're looking for a cross under of the average of close of data 1 divided by close of data 2 for a 10-bar period. So the idea or the concept here is pretty straightforward. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. What we're looking for, moving average crossovers. And the moving average is averaging the ratio between the close of data 1 and the close of data 2. How cool is that, right? So as I said before, this doesn't plot the lines. Let me go ahead and click OK to this. What it does, if you look at my chart, is it's gonna work as a show me, in the sense that every bar where there's a crossover, you get either a magenta dot or a cyan dot. So when there's a cyan dot, it's a bullish signal. When there's a magenta dot, it's a bearish signal. So on bearish signals, what does the indicator do? Well, it's not turned on yet, but if I turn it on a magenta circle, it's going to go short Apple and it's going to go long Microsoft, because it's the crossover of the moving averages is looking at, the ratio between the two. And if there's a crossover or a cross under, then it's going to use that opportunity to trade both thimbles at the same time. So let's see how it works. So going back to the idea that I was starting this concept with, is that I don't see the averages. I see the show me dots letting me know where the crossovers happen. So what I did is I went to studies and I added a study. There's custom studies inside of TradeStation that don't require a lot of programming. You just need to know what is the specific formula that you need to use in order for the indicator to give you a line. Those indicators are called custom. And I'm going to use a custom two line. That custom two line is going to go right here at the bottom. So I'm going to copy some of the conditions that I found in the algos indicator that uses multiple data and put it on my custom indicator. So I'm going to go to edit this algo. I'm going to go in here and copy the whole expression, because I'm going to use part of the formula for one line and part of the other formula for the second line. So I just copied that. I just do Control C. I'm going to go here to this custom two lines, and I'm going to put it in the inputs. I'm going to put that whole expression right here in the inputs. One of the lines is going to be the average of the close of data 1 divided by the close of data 2 for 10 periods. So let me go and remove everything that comes before it. And then the second line, it's going to be the other side. So I'm going to remove everything that's after it. There we go. So now we see the two expressions, both averages using close of data 1 divided by close of data 2. One is a 5 and the other is a 10. I may have switched them around because I wanted the 5 here. I can change that very quickly. I wanted the 5 to be at the top and the 10 at the bottom. Let's see what this looks like. I'm going to click OK. And here we go. We have the indicator at the bottom. So on a crossover, let's take a look at something recent. So you can see that the two lines crossed over right here, and then it generates a bullish signal. I'm not going to call it bullish or bearish because remember, this is pairs trading and you're going long one symbol and you're going short the other. So let's go to the pairs trading. The crossover, yes, the slow, we have a slow and a fast average. Maybe that's the reason why it probably doesn't plot the lines so that it's not confused. It's not confusing. And we don't, mix the moving average crossovers with what this indicator is trying to do. But it is looking at the crossover of the two lines, and when they do crossover, it's going to generate a trade. Right here, right there. Okay, perfect. So let me show you how this is turned on. I'm going to go here to the indicator. Well, first of all, I need my trade bar to be visible because I'm going to grab the account number. I'm going to right click on one of the dots here of the algos pairs trading, and 0 means that the indicator is disabled. So I'm going to change that 0 to 1. Account number, where it says enter equities account number, I'm going to leave the quotations in there, but I'm going to replace this with my simulator. So this is sim 139 3533 M. I'm reading off, the account number right here at the top. That's why I displayed the trade bar. Dollars per trade, I'm going to do $100,000 per trade. The conditions, I'm going to leave the same. Everything remains the same. And I need to do something else. I need to come here to the general tab, and I'm going to enable order placement. This is what turns the execution of the orders. Otherwise, it's just going to calculate the indicator, alert you when there's a crossover, but it will not place orders. You have to come here to the general tab and enable order placement. I'm going to click OK. And this should be on. It's going to wait until the next bar to give you an indication. Let me turn this into a different time frame so we can get this moving quicker. I'm going to turn this into a 10-second bar. All right, so everybody sees this yellow candle? The yellow candle tells me that this is turned on for trading from this bar on. So as soon as the conditions are met here, I'm going to get a trade. Let me go ahead and remove my trade bar from here. I don't need it anymore. Notice that we're just going to wait for those two lines to cross. But this is the type of study that is looking at the price data of both symbols, monitoring the crossover of that ratio, and automatically generating trades for Apple and Microsoft in opposite direction. It's going to short one, and then it's going to long the other. Let's go ahead and see what happens. We're close to getting a crossover here on our chart. Let's see as soon as it happens. That's why I used a 10-second chart, not because I want to trade this in a 10-second. It's just that I just want to get a quicker response. It's going to cross.
Order filled.
Okay. Notice that it crossed. What positions did I have up here? I have Apple and I have Microsoft. Notice that it went short Apple, 565 shares, and it went long Microsoft, 324 shares. It's using an investment or a dollar amount because it want to keep the two trades comparable. So each one of those investments was $100,000. And we can see the two positions right there. So the indicator is designed, yes, to trade both securities. Is not submitting them as a spread, but it's generating two executions on the two symbols on your chart. So again, when we have the next crossover, it's going to invert my positions. Right now, I'm short Apple and I'm, long Microsoft. We can see how the two symbols here are correlated because one is losing and the other is winning. So they're moving in the same direction. And that's why I have a losing position and a winning position. But if you find the right symbols to trade where you can, capitalize on certain calculations of both symbols, that would
Order filled.
Okay. We have another crossover. And now you can see that my two positions are switched. Now I'm long Apple. I can tell because there's a plus sign next to the symbol. You're probably asking, how does he know that it's a short or long? And Microsoft, you can see that it has a minus, so it's a short trade. So interesting concept. I wanted to show it to you today and see how it plays in action, because we have some very highly sophisticated functionality in TradeStation that allows you to do these sort of things. Analyze the market data, calculate on different symbols, and then base the order execution on multiple symbols like this. Let's talk about relative performance a little bit. Let me go ahead and remove this. I shouldn't have removed it, but it's okay. If I need to create it one more time, I'll do it with anyone here. Okay. Let me go ahead and change this to a daily chart. All right. And let's see. Let me go and show you some other analysis you can do, relative performance. Let me go and create some analysis on multiple airlines. For that, I'm going to come over here to my radar screen to put some symbols on. So we can see the symbols on the screen. So radar screen. All right, let me put it here on the left side. That way I can see the description. Airline stocks. Let's go ahead and see what airline stocks come to mind. AAL. American Airlines. Do you have any other suggestions that I can use here? But I'll take anyone. Airline stocks. Tesla, it's a great stock, but let's go ahead and talk about airline stocks. I'm going to try to do an analysis on airline stocks and maybe look at, how they responded from the pandemic. So Dow is Delta Airlines. UAL, say UAL, United Airlines. Perfect. LUV, Southwest Airlines. Thank you, Matthew, for that. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, Kita. So let's take a look at maybe one other one. JetBlue. There we go. So we have 5. I'll leave it at 5. So let me go ahead and change the symbol here to my chart to the first one, AAL. And then I'm going to type in the other ones. Insert symbol, Dow. Insert symbol, UAL. That works. Okay. Insert symbol, love. And then .isy, JetBlue. Okay, so now I have the 5 symbols on my screen, and I can do some analysis, relative analysis on all these symbols and see which one is outperforming the other. They're all daily charts, and all I need to do is come here to the style, percent change chart, and enable. What this will do is change the price activity into percentage change, and that equalizes the scale so that I can compare them together. Right now I look at American Airlines is trading at $15. I'm looking at Delta is trading at $41. JetBlue is trading at $6. So there's a variance between the prices that doesn't really allow me to compare them together. But if I turn all these prices into percentages, I'm using the same scale. I can put them all together in the same graph, and I can see which one is outperforming the other. And as soon as I click on enable right here on this chart, it'll do precisely that. Right now, my chart looks like spaghetti, but I can do some tweaking and changing here just to make things stand out better. For example, one of the things that I notice is that I have 3 green lines, and that's not very clear, So I can change the colors here. Let me go ahead and double click on one. And I'm going to go to the style and change this one to magenta. And the style, I'm going to make it thicker too. All right, so that stands out. Now let me click on the other green. Oh, let me try that one more time. Double click on the line. I'm going to make this a different color that I haven't used. Let's use the red and make it a little bit thicker. Okay, so now they're all different colors, and I can see the percentages over here. If I click and hold on the background of the chart, I get the data tips window, and the data tips window by default only fits 3 symbols. And I can see American, Delta, and I can see United, but I don't see the other 2. And I can change that. Let me show you where that is. I can go to settings, preferences. Right here, display, maximum number of columns to display. I'm going to change that to 5. So when I click on the background, I can see all the 5 columns for all the different symbols, and I can correlate the color to the symbol. So I know that this yellow line that's at the very top, which is showing a negative 27%, that is delta. And the one that is showing a negative 67% down here, that's JetBlue. So the top performer is delta. The worst performer is, in this case, JetBlue. But this is from where? I mean, where is it calculating those percentages from? If I scroll all the way back, you can see how the lines meet at the 0 line at the very beginning of the data. How far back does my data go? Let me go here to the very beginning. You can see the date right there on the top left corner. It says August 22nd, 2018. So we're talking about 5 years of historical data. So in 5 years, we see that dramatic change in price. It's a big drop in price. And we can see those percentages right here on the front. JetBlue is down 67% from what it was worth 5 years ago. But what we wanted to do is see how these airlines responded since the pandemic. So let me go ahead and squeeze my chart a little bit. Okay. I can already tell where the pandemic is right here. You see that big drop? Everybody sees it. Let me change the time frame here. I may want to change this to maybe a weekly time frame, just to squeeze the calculations a little bit further. That way I can see right here the beginning of 2020 right here. So the scale, I can see the years at the bottom. I'm going to put myself right here. Let's see. Right here on the beginning of 2020, right here. Right click, and I'm going to go to Style, and I'm going to select Percent Change Chart, and then select Calculate from this bar. So you can change the calculation point. I'm changing the calculation point to be the beginning of 2020. Did that work? No, it didn't work. Let's try that one more time. So right click, Studies, where is it? Style, Percent Change Chart, calculate from this bar. Okay, there we go. So now we see the calculation from the beginning of 2020. You see the dotted lines tells you, where the anchor point is and where the 0 line is. And based on this calculation, we still see the same behavior. We see how Delta is the one that's performing better, whereas, JetBlue still down 66% from the beginning of 2020. Now, if I want to see their performance from the beginning of 2023, let's see. Right click, Style, Percent Change Chart, and calculate from this bar. So now we have a different performer. Now from the beginning of this year, 2023, we have the top performer is Cyan, which is United. United is up 16% from the beginning of the year. JetBlue is still the underperformer right here. JetBlue is still down 40% from the beginning of the year. So this is basically relative performance, where you're comparing the performance of one symbol against another and trying to find where the strong performers and weak performers are based on a benchmark. So great concept here, and it's only possible by using multi-data analysis. And one last thing, because I know that I have a few minutes, actually I'm running a little bit over, but I wanted to give you guys some other tool that allows you to do relative performance here. In apps, let's go to radar screen. Let me go to radar screen. Where is it? Okay. All right. And I'm going to go to data, and I'm going to populate here let's do the NASDAQ 100. All right. The NASDAQ 100 symbols. I can choose, let me choose a shorter list so that it's a little bit visual. So I'm going to do the Dow 30 instead, a shorter list. Add symbols. Let me do the Dow Jones Industrial. And I'm going to click on the plus here to add a study. Everybody has these studies that I'm going to show on their desktops. So you can go to studies, add studies, and it's called relative strength right here, relative strength. I'm going to add it and move it down. All right. And this is what it looks like. You can see the reference symbol. It's comparing it to Spider. of course, you can come here and change it to anything you'd like. For example, I'm going to right click, go to studies, edit the symbol for, or edit the study for all symbols. And instead of using SPY as my benchmark symbol, I'm going to use the Dow Jones Index, $INDU. So I'm just going to put it in right in there inside the quotations. Do not remove the quotations, otherwise it will not work. I'm going to click OK, and then you can see how the Dow Jones Index gets loaded. You can see that on this row, the difference is 0.000 because we have the Dow Jones Index right here at the top. So let me go ahead and I'm going to leave it there. But now this will be the middle line. If I sort by the difference, I can see all the ones or all the symbols that are underperforming the index itself. And then you have all the symbols that are outperforming the index. And of course, this is all an average. That's what the nature of an index is, right? And in this particular case, you can see which corporations are at the top and which ones are at the bottom and are contributing to the value of the index itself. Of course, you can do this with any sector of the industry, with any symbol list, and rank symbols based on their performance relative to a benchmark. In this case, we're using the Dow Jones. I don't need these two other columns. So remember that you can always go to right click, go to studies, show hide plots, and you can remove these two columns if you want to. That way it'll just be a little bit more compact. But yeah, you can also do relative performance inside of radar screen and see how symbols are measuring up to a benchmark. All right. And this is it. This is my presentation. I hope you guys like some of the tools that TradeStation has. Make sure that you introduce some multi-data analysis on your TradeStation. Is going to add a different flavor, let's put it that way, to what you're doing on your trading. We talked about percentage change charts. We talked about correlation. We talked about pairs trading. So there's a lot of things you can do with multi-data analysis, and TradeStation is a platform that can do those things for you. Okay. So guys, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you guys enjoyed the presentation, and I hope that you can join me again on my next topic, masterclass topic, next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Remember that I'm doing a getting started class tomorrow, basics stuff, at 10 a.m. in the morning Eastern time. So if you're just getting started with TradeStation, I believe the topic tomorrow is on the Client Center. So I'm going to show you some of the tools that are in the Client Center, how to take advantage of them. So if that's a presentation that you're interested in, I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Great having you. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye, everyone.